Hey guys, it's Seeney here, and today I have a few tips for photographers that are looking to get better video. Okay, so video and photography are quite similar, however, there are some differences that need to be factored in when changing between the two. Okay, so as a photographer, you're looking to get the coloring as close as possible to the final product as you can in camera. So it makes sense to shoot on a profile that is natural or vivid or something like that. However, when you're working with video, it's much better to be working with a log profile. And what that does is it gives you complete control in post-production. You have a lot more control of manipulating the colors whichever way you like. And it also gives you better dynamic range, which is very important for video. So next time you're swapping over to video, try a log profile. Alright, so number 2 is to film like a photographer. So just like photography, it's really important with video that you have great composition in your shots, and the same rules still apply, the rule of thirds, etc. All of that still applies. So make sure when you're taking those shots on video that you're applying that same logic. Okay, number 3 is to get it right in camera. And what I'm talking about is the exposure. With photos, you have a little bit more leeway with your exposure values, especially if you're shooting raw. You can change the white balance, you have a little bit more room to play. However, with video, it's really important that you nail your exposure and you nail your white balance in camera. The only way you can shoot video raw is if you have a very expensive camera like a red camera. However, if you're just shooting on a DSLR, you need to make sure you have that white balance nailed in camera, because it's going to be very difficult to fix in post-production. Okay, so tip 4 has to do with frame rates and shutter speed. So when you're shooting regular video, it's best to shoot in 24 or 25 frames a second. I'm in Australia working on the PAL system, so I'm shooting 25 frames a second. The only reason you should go any higher than that is maybe if you're shooting some action sports, you could shoot at 50 frames a second, or if you're shooting at a higher frame rate to slow things down and create slow motion. So 24, 25 looks best to the human eye. That's where you'll get the best cinematic results. Okay, it's also really important that if you're shooting video at 25 frames a second, your shutter speed needs to be double, so it should be 1/50. Alright, so the reason that this is a rule is because it gives you a really nice cinematic motion blur, which looks really appealing to the eye. If you crank it up so that the shutter speed is really fast, things are going to start getting really jumpy, and it's not going to look so good. And if you have it too low, things are just going to be way too blurry and it's not going to look right. So ideally you want double. If you're shooting 24 frames a second, ideally you want 48, however 50 will be fine. If you're shooting 25, 50, if you're shooting at 50 frames a second, then 100. So the shutter speed needs to be constant for the frame rate. However, when you're outside, this can present a little bit of a problem, because leaving your shutter speed at 1/50 if you're shooting in 25 frames a second, you can start to let a lot of light into camera. So what you might need to do is invest in some ND filters, some sunglasses for your camera. And this will allow you to keep that shutter speed a bit longer. Okay, and the final tip today is to make sure that you have some kind of stabilization when you're videoing. So you don't need to go really extreme and get yourself like $1,000 gimbal or something like that, although it does help. It can be as simple as a tripod like I have now, and just having the camera in the one spot. And even some cameras such as the GH5 that I'm shooting on right now have great in-body stabilization, and that allows you to have nice smooth shots, and they won't be really jittery and jumping around, because it's really hard sometimes to watch videos that are just all over the place. You want to have nice smooth shots that people can look at and not feel like they're on a roller coaster. Okay, so video is slightly different to photography, and that's a couple of tips that I hope will help you guys to make better videos. So my name is Seeney. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you later.